All right, so on to segment 3 here. We're going to talk about the movies we saw this week. David, what did you see this week?
All right. Well, the big one I saw this week, it was just released digitally this week. This is one you've already seen.
Mm.
Doctor Sleep.
Oh, yeah.
Um, I was now. I know you were a big fan of this.
Mm-hmm.
But also I know you're not a big fan of The Shining.
No, I didn't mention this when we had Tony Wash. I loved the book. I didn't like the adaptation of it. So that was done.
I'm talking about Stanley Kubrick's version
Yeah.
of the film. You weren't the biggest fan of, which that kind of stretches. Everybody can have their own opinion to its limits, but we'll say that for another time.
Okay, go on, Jerk. Go ahead.
But so Doctor Sleep is obviously the follow-up to The Shining. 40 years later, I was, to be honest with you, I was in the camp like, do we really need this film? It's 40 years. Do we really need a follow-up to The Shining?
Mm-hmm.
So I was, I guess, cautiously optimistic. It's directed by Mike Flanagan, and I like Mike's work. He did Oculus, he did Gerald's Game, he did Hush. He did a few other films. So he has a pretty good track record for horror films. He's a solid director. Starring Ewan McGregor, and I like Ewan McGregor. Most people know him from Star Wars. I know him from Trainspotting, one of my favorite movies ever. But this film, you know what this film felt like to me?
What?
This was less horror and more like a X-Men origin story.
I told you it had kind of that X-Men feel to it, somewhere in between, yeah.
This felt more fantasy than horror to me.
Okay.
It didn't give me regular horror vibes. If people know the original, they know Danny Torrance had the ability called The Shining. Ewan McGregor plays an adult Danny Torrance, and we find out because in original film we only know of Scatman Carruthers' character.
Hey, Scat made another appearance in our show.
Yep.
Gross.
What Dick Halloran is
Yeah.
the name of the character. We only know in the original film him and Danny have this power. What we learn from Doctor Sleep is there's a bunch of other people who have similar powers, and some of them are more powerful and they can do different things.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this cult called what is it? The Knot?
Yeah.
Something Knot.
Yeah.
But they hunt down kids that have the Shining and pretty much just suck their life force out so they could live.
Like sort of like vampires or something. They like suck their shining out to live longer.
So that's why it. You had kids with different powers. It's why it felt more of a almost superhero-esque, and we don't see too much use of these powers, but it felt a lot like an X-Men story where these kids are trying to cover their powers. There's people out to get them because they have the powers. But I think the brilliant part about this film is the writing. I read the book years and years ago. I love The Shining, the film. Stanley Kubrick's one of my favorite directors. This is probably my favorite film by him. But if anybody knows the history of that film and that book, Stephen King, he hated the original Shining because
I'm with him.
Kubrick did his own thing with the source material. He went away from the supernatural and made it more about a man going crazy and wanting to butcher his family.
And it's not that Jack Nicholson was not entirely, not lovable in that role, because of course he is so iconic for that role. Like, of course, anybody hears Johnny, like I don't even think of Johnny Carson. Anybody says that line, I think of Jack. So it's like it's hilarious. Like I love him in that role. I just when I think to the book, I'm like, fuck, like this is not the book. And I wanted more from that role.
Well,
But,
the beautiful thing about the writing of Doctor Sleep
Mm.
is that Flanagan pins a screenplay that kind of bridges the gap between Kubrick's ending and what Stephen King wanted with the ending. So he kind of he pulls it all together, which was it had to be hard. It just seems hard because of the distance in between the two. So we get a new outlook on the ending from the way that this screenplay is written. And I thought that was the best part about the film, how Flanagan was able to bring these two factions together. But I think it was a very, very strong film. I think my biggest problem with it, I felt that Rose the Hat was a weak villain.
I wasn't a huge fan of her.
I actually said that she looked like a reject from Four Non-Blondes, so that goes more to the 90s babies who would understand that reference. But she was serviceable, but she wasn't scary to me at all. She just didn't bring much to the role. I think Ewan McGregor did a great job.
Yeah.
The girl who played Abra, I think she did a wonderful job. But all in all, it was a very strong film. I gave it an 8 out of 10, which to me is a very strong score. And I will go back and watch it again. I did see the director's cut.
Oh.
So I watched the 3-hour version. I think I'll have to go back and watch the theatrical cut because I did feel there was some fat on the 3 hours.
How much more length was there on there?
It's a half hour longer.
Half hour longer? I wonder what I missed. Okay, now I gotta see that yet.
So I'd like to go back. If I have a choice to watch the director's cut first over the theatrical, I'm usually going to go to the director's. But a lot of times with a director's cut, there is some extra fat on it. So I'll go back and watch the theatrical and see how I think that is. If they could cut down that runtime a little bit, I think it would be better.
Do you remember my review on it when I saw it? What I said about Jess's reaction in theaters?
No, remind me.
There was the scene when they catch the little boy.
Okay. I think you remember. Yeah. She could not look at that one.
She could not. And I mean, I was with great difficulty watching because like, wow, I was not expecting and it was again one of those almost off-camera kind of things where you're not getting an absolute visual of what's happening, but you're close enough to where you see some of what's going on, and he is just giving a really good performance.
Yeah,
about
the pain. Terror in him.
Oh my goodness, and it was so believable. And I was just like, wow, I did not expect. I was like, oh, a Stephen King movie, Stephen King adaptation movie. Like usually I'm used to the kind of almost jokey kind of oh, killer car, oh, dog, don't bite me, dog, you're a crazy dog. Or what's the other weird Stephen King movies? Oh, killer clown. Those kind of things
Cats
don't really
come back from the dead.
Yeah, it's oh no, don't bury the cat here. It's gonna come back. Which I saw the sequel to the other night. I should have put that in there in my reviews. But yeah, when I saw that scene, I was like, whoa. I was really I started to feel that, especially having kids.
Yeah, and, for a theatrical a studio, that studio film, that was toting the line what you will see somebody put into a film through a major studio.
Yeah, I thought they did that scene tastefully enough to where it was horrifying to me, and that was probably the worst of it, to be honest. There really wasn't any other scene that matched up to that kind of fear level or fear factor for the rest of the movie. Really, the rest was just kind of story based, and but that scene was really that was the high point in terms of horror for me in that movie.
Yeah, but I definitely recommend it. If I'm not the biggest fan of Stephen King, he's really hit or miss for me.
Yeah.
And I'm not a big fan of his writing either. So I'm the weird horror geek that doesn't kiss Stephen King's ass. But that's not to say that there's not some amazing films based off of his intellectual properties, because there's some of my favorite films are. It's just that there's a lot of shit too. So, but this is in the higher end of the Stephen King adapts.
Did he make an appearance in Doctor Sleep?
I did not see him.
I don't think he did. I think I'm just thinking back to like chapter 2, chapter 2 he did. He was already looking like, man, he looks super old in that one. I didn't realize
Yeah,
how old he was.
he doesn't choose to do that all the time anymore.
Hmm.
I don't know. That used to be like in the 80s and the 90s. There's a Stephen King film. You're going to see him somewhere in there.
All right. Well, I'm going to go lighten things up here with, actually, I think all of mine are pretty light, with a bit of a Roadhouse starring Patrick Swayze, and I don't know anybody else in this movie. So this movie was actually almost made it to my, what was that list we did? Not Guilty Pleasures, the one after that. Oh, our best worst list. But I honestly did not remember it. I saw it a long time ago, so I only remembered bits and pieces. I was like, oh, why would this be on a best worst list? Because I kept seeing it come up online when I was looking for recommendations and stuff to see. And then I started watching it, and I was like, oh, this actually looks like a good movie. I saw like the first 5 minutes. I was like, oh, I'm going to watch this. I'm not going to put it on the list. So I didn't put it on the list or honorable mentions. And I ended up watching it with Jess, I think the next day or 2 days after. And I was like, holy crap, this totally should have been on the best worst list. It was so funny. This guy, Patrick Swayze, is a bouncer. He's the cooler. He's the head of the bouncers at a club, and he gets hired by this other guy who just needs his bar cleaned up because there's so many like just rough housing going on, and his bouncers are like trashing the place, getting rid of these alcoholics and stuff who are just making a mess. And there's some girls are selling drugs over there and stuff, and people are throwing bottles around. It's just insanity in that club. I don't know, in that bar. The bar is called the Double Deuce. And, I don't know why that's okay. Even in what year did they come out? The 90s or something? 1989. Roadhouse. Okay. So back in 1989, I don't know if that's just how things went about anyway, but it's so funny. I mean, this guy is supposed to be a bouncer, but his main rules are all about keeping it cool, and he's like, be nice. If a guy gives you trouble, be nice about it. Walk him out of the bar. Like, he never wants to start fights with them, and he is his major or whatever, he has a philosophy degree, and he's a pacifist essentially. And so anyway, he straightens up this place, and there's a big shot in town who's trying to own everything in town. And anyway, he bumps heads with this guy, and apparently Swayze's trying to get away from some crime that he committed in New Orleans. There's rumor that he ripped a guy's throat out. Like, so there are so many like strange like homoerotic scenes, which it's just strangely put in there. Like, there's one scene where he's just stretching, like doing some kind of tai chi, and the neighbor, the bad guy from across the lake, he stops mowing his lawn to just take a look at him. There's no sense of like, oh, that guy, I'm gonna get him. He's just watching. And then the guy whose place he's renting out, that farmer stops what he's doing to just watch him. I'm like, what is going on? Like, are you guys interested? Are you, I don't know. It's weird. And then, oh, of course, there's the Swayze butt shot. You can't miss it. He, apparently he always goes commando in his jeans. Like, oh, I don't know. That shit's going to go up your crack. You're going to be having nasty stains in that. He never does his laundry once, so he's wearing that jeans again and again. This movie is just all kinds of fun. Oh, what's his face? Sam Elliott's in it. A young Sam Elliott with this gorgeous hair. He sounds
And
the
the
same.
mustache.
Oh man, if that guy ever shaved, I would not want to see that movie. Like gross. Like you better put a fake one on right away. It's a really funny movie to watch. Later on, his rival fighter guy, Swayze's supposed equal, fights him, and that I'm not even going to reveal it. It's the greatest ending to that fight. It's just awesome. You got to see it, even if you just look up that scene on YouTube. It's so funny. The end of the movie is absolutely just doesn't. It's bonkers. No, I should I spoil it? I don't know if anybody's really going to watch this. No, I won't spoil it. Go ahead. Unless you want to know, David, I'll tell you separately.
Nah, but most people seen Roadhouse.
Okay. Yeah, so they kill the bad guy. And everybody kills the bad guy. Everybody shoots him. And I mean like 7 people with shotguns shoot this man. And then for some reason the police show up and they're like, "Hey, what's going on here?" And because everyone there refuses to say any details, the police are just like, "Okay." Swayze has blood from like 7 people on his hands. He's just standing there. The cops are like, "All right, you guys get on your way."
You kids.
You crazy kids. So it's a fun movie. It's definitely belonged on that best worst list. So if you're looking to have some fun, watch Roadhouse.
Well, here, I'll go to my next one. And we talk about this a lot since we both have kids, trying to find those good PG-13 horror films. I alluded to it earlier in the show. I just watched this one today.
The big reveal. What is it?
Yeah, I stayed at home. My son today was sick, and he said, "Daddy, I want a horror movie." And I saw this and streaming, so I popped it on. And this is 2019's Escape Room.
Oh yeah, I saw this with Sona.
Yeah, I thought it was a fun little horror film. It's directed by Adam Robital, who did a film that I like called Taking of Deborah Logan. That's a pretty good little found footage horror film. But this film is about those escape rooms. I guess that's all the craze now, and like the tourist destinations, the tourist traps. They get you to go do little mazes and shit like that.
There's at least a couple over here around me. Like I was surprised how many there are around here.
Yeah, I think you'll find them a lot in tourist areas now, but that's kind of like a small little craze that's going on. So just like what horror does, if something popular is going on, they make a horror film out of it. So this is 6 people. They get invitations to go to this escape room, and whoever can get out first wins $10,000. They do not realize that these rooms were made. They seem to be made by Jigsaw from the Saw franchise.
I wish they made some kind of connection like that. It's like, oh, this is actually a Saw sequel.
The reason this worked really good, and like I said, it was fun for me to watch, but the action after the first act, the action is just constant, which is good for the younger film fans who get bored very easily. It's just constantly moving, and they kept the pace up all the way to the end of the film. So yeah, it was an enjoyable watch. It's PG-13, which I usually don't like PG-13 horror films. There's very few, but this is one of the better ones that I've seen in a while. So I had fun watching it. And check it out, especially if you have some kids who like horror and you want to stay away from. There's no excessive gore. They say shit a few times. There's no nudity, no sexual innuendos or anything. It's just kind of a crazy little fun horror film.
I was gonna say, if you like the Saw franchise and you like, all the little, how is he gonna kill this person? Like all the little gadgets and gizmos and how he sets up the deaths. It's almost like a safer Saw movie for that teeny crowd, teen and maybe even a little younger.
Yeah, my son's 5. He loved it.
Well, so the teens and preteens and David's son.
Yeah.
So that's the crowd. Then before I get to my new release movie, I managed to finally get to episode 6 of my Star Wars journey. That is Return of the Jedi. I'm not going to do any reveals as much as David would like to, because he doesn't want to have to see these movies himself. He's just waiting for me to reveal everything. But so I went through 4, 5, and now 6, and I'm working on 7. I keep getting through the first hour of 7, and then something happens, and I have to stop it, and I just keep trying to watch it over.
What are they up to now? Episode what?
So, well, after 4, 5, 6, they did 1, 2, 3. And then they ended up doing Rogue One, which is a prequel to 4. And then there's a Han Solo story. And then there's a 7, 8. And 7 is Force Awakens. 8 is The Last Jedi. And 9 is the one that just came out, Rise of the Skywalker, I think is the name. Starring a female lead named Rey, who's introduced in 7 for the first time. So 6 is essentially the end of the original trilogy, 4, 5, 6, Return of the Jedi, where Luke has completed his Jedi training and he is off to fight what he now knows to be his, I guess I'll say it. It's his blank. Oh, I didn't say it. So he's off to fight Darth Vader.
They say it in Tommy Boy. It's fine.
You already said that last time. You don't need to give me work to do to censor you out again. So he's off to fight Vader finally and possibly defeat the Emperor. And there is just some scenes in this movie are just really weird. And I didn't notice I was seeing the special edition because at the end there is a ghost of someone in particular, who I was like, he plays Anakin Skywalker from the episode 2 and 3. I don't know, remember his name. His name is like Christian something. Anyway, he plays Anakin Skywalker in 2 and 3, and his ghost shows up at the end of 6.
Did they really do that?
Yeah, I was like,
that's
wait.
Horrific, man. I would never. That's why I would never watch those films. That's the worst fucking thing I've ever heard.
How did that even happen? And then
I hate George Lucas, and
it's a special edition. It was like one of the couple things they touched actually for that.
Him and Spielberg, I got such terrible human beings.
Spielberg's use of replacing the guns with walkie-talkies, that was excessive. I'm like, okay, relax.
Well, adding characters from movies that you made decades after to the original, that is, god damn, he jerks off in the mirror.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I'm sure, yeah, because they were all re-released in theater at one point and stuff like that, so he's enjoying that. Man, I don't know how many acres his lot of land is, but he's enjoying it, driving around his little, what are they, his rascal or something, what do they call those? Yeah. Golf cart.
I'm happy Disney bought that asshole out.
What? He bought his dead asshole?
I'm glad Disney bought that asshole out.
Yeah, it was going to happen. They needed their space adventures. But yeah, this movie, it was definitely felt like an end to it. It didn't really set up anything for what they were doing, but they obviously went backwards. So, yeah, it felt kind of, I don't know. Anyway, the end was a bit cheap, but I didn't like it so much. Luke's whole issue with attacking the Emperor. So in the end, the fleet is attacking the new Death Star. There's a new one. They rebuilt it, a new. This thing is supposed to be as big as a moon, and out of nowhere, they just complete these things. And it has a shield, so they have to go and deactivate the shield on the planet, and it's not unlike something we've seen before. Rogue One is actually very similar, and or 4 has a similar plot.
I've never understood how they can build such an amazing piece of machinery, but it just has that one weak point.
No, so okay, here's what I didn't like. So in 4, there's the Death Star, right? And you know how there's that tunnel or there's a shaft where they have to drop a bomb into. Like we all know that.
Yeah,
story.
I saw it on Family Guy.
And to blow it up in that fantastic fashion that it does. Well, in 6, they have to do the same thing, but this time the weakness is this ship-sized hole that Lando, Han Solo's friend, flies the Millennium Falcon, and then he has the assistance of like 2 or 3 other X-Wings who fly with him, and they're being chased by the TIE fighters, the ones that go like those screaming Vader's screaming friends, and they're chasing them through. They're all in formation, flying through this hole.
Just to say, sound doesn't travel in space.
It's a vacuum. This movie would be far less exciting if it didn't. So we have to suspend some disbelief for this. But they managed to fit all of these ships. It's no longer just a narrow kind of shaft that they have to drop a bomb to. It's huge. And they get inside and they shoot the core and it explodes. I'm like, what the hell? Did these people who wrote the script not read the 4th one? I'm like, what is going on? So that was a huge...
That's why I can't understand how people are rabid over these films. I just don't understand it.
I get it for the whole saga of it and, now. But at the time, when you see 4, 5, 6 and how similar those two things are, I'm like, wow, it felt like such a cheap script. And so anyway, Luke is watching the Rebel fleet attack, and the Emperor is sitting right behind this guy. And he's like, oh, come on, you want to attack me? He has his sword nearby, his lightsaber. He's like, come on, Luke, don't you want to kill me? Come on to the dark side. Show me your hatred. And Luke is fighting because he doesn't want to go to the dark side. So he's just standing there looking out the window at the Rebel fleet fighting the Death Star. And he's like, come on, Luke, don't you want to kill me? And finally, after fighting it, he uses the Force to grab his saber and tries to attack him. Anyway, the Emperor, dies through some. But I'm like, oh, God, it was the most boring scene. They were trying to make it so tense. I'm like, he's right there. Just kill him already. It's not the dark side. It's cool. Everybody wants this guy dead. Everybody's going to say you're a good guy. Don't worry about it. But,
I remember as a kid, with the lightsabers. Now, just tells you how analytical I was.
Yeah.
I was like, and this is a kid. I'm like, if a lightsaber is supposed to be like a laser, what is stopping it from keep on going?
Oh, but it is plasma. Okay. Don't make me get into the science of it because I cannot go very long with it. But it is plasma of some kind, and it's contained within this field of energy from what I've read. Okay.
From the Force. The Force contains it.
I hope not, because that's just falling all over the place the second they're not paying attention. But it comes in different colors, all kinds of flavors for no reason whatsoever that they ever explain that. Yeah,
and I think my son had one of them on, but do they have axes now with it and shit?
Yeah, they have some weird ones. So in 7, for the first time, we see this kind of. So there's a sword, like the regular lightsaber, but then it also has a hilt with 2 little short ones at the side. I don't know what, wow, okay. And then there's other ones in episode 1, 2, and 3. They showed these bow staff ones. Okay, sure, whatever.
So the weaponry got worse in the future until the future came back again.
They got creative with it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's so true, right? If that was there earlier. Because it's only the people who are around the Force or the Jedi ever carry lightsabers and stuff. But God. Yeah. Anyway, that should just get. He comes. Oh, so 6 is the first time we see a green one. That actually there was. Now that I think about it, I think there was a green one in 1 or 2. But anyway, technically, chronologically, we only see a first time green one. And Darth Vader sees it, and he's impressed for some reason. he's like, "Oh, you've modified it," and he's really impressed. I'm like, "Who the fuck cares? It's just green. Like, it's not more powerful." Like, oh, he made a big show of it. Like, oh, I'm impressed. Who cares? Tell me why you're impressed. I don't know anything about this. Why is it green? He put a little green like paint inside. So like,
little food coloring.
yeah,
Darth. I just did a little food coloring and some Saran wrap, and just hooked it up a little
he
bit.
like shows him how to DIY his lightsaber. They sit down and do crafts. Anyway, it was it's a good trilogy. I like it, and it's old, so it's hard to like judge a lot of it because so many of the special effects were done so original to it, and the CGI is just of its time. But it's a good trilogy. I don't mind it. I'm still looking forward to kind of finishing the whole saga.
So now we'll go on to a real film.
Just go already.
I just rewatched this the other day too. This 2018's You Were Never Really Here. Have you seen this one?
No, I've heard of it. I didn't see it.
This is such a good film. Directed by Lynn Ramsey, who I just want to say, and this is not just to classify her on her gender, but since so many people have to speak about the gender of a director nowadays, she's by far the best female filmmaker. There is no compare. No one ever talks about her because I guess she doesn't make emotional films. But You Were Never Really Here, starring the great Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah, I like seeing Jacqueline. Yeah. What a name.
This is Joaquin's film before he did the Joker. So this is the film right before that. He plays a character named Joe. And Joe he has a weird job. Joe is somebody that rich guys hire to go get kidnapped girls. So they come to him and I might have to cut that out.
Holy cow.
That's the guinea pigs.
Oh, are they getting slaughtered?
They're fighting each other.
Oh, okay.
They'll do that every once in a while.
Was it either that or like someone pulled up a door or something, like a gate? Go ahead.
Joe has some deep emotional issues. The film starts off, we see him kind of suffocating himself inside of a plastic bag. We find out that he has some daddy issues and he has a lot of suicidal thoughts. But he gets this call gets offered a lot of money to go find a senator's daughter who has been caught up in a sex trafficking ring. Joe likes to use a hammer. He doesn't really like guns very much. He likes to beat people in the head with a hammer. He's known for his brutal nature. But this film is just so well done, just to take a term from you.
Yeah, you did.
At Cannes, Joaquin won an award for Best Actor, and it won for Best Screenplay, and that is before it was even totally finished. It showed at Cannes in an unfinished state and won awards. It was nominated for Palme d'Or as well. But this film, this is one of the big three for Joaquin Phoenix. For if you're going to do a reel of how great of an actor he is, it's this film, The Master, and Joker. The reason I like this film so much, there's not much dialogue. They use the camera, they use a lot of facial expressions to tell so much of the story, and it comes across just perfectly. The sound design, the editing, all the technical aspects of this film they're all brilliant. It is on Amazon Prime. It's actually distributed by Amazon. After Cannes, I think Amazon and A24 got into a bidding war, and Amazon obviously won that one.
Mm.
But it's just such a dark, small little film. It's not big on special effects. I really like how Lynn Ramsey, the way she shows violence, and she does kind of go away from some of the violence, and there's an artistic reason behind it. I feel because Joaquin's character, he he's an anti-hero, but he feels for these children, but at the same time he's a very violent person.
Mm.
So there's a lot of duality there. And I think she kind of distanced us a little bit from the violence as to kind of the way Joaquin's character, he would desensitize himself to it and kind of go into another mind frame when he has to become that way. But it's done so well. If you haven't seen this film, or if you haven't seen Lynn Ramsey's other films, I suggest checking them out. I think she is one of the best directors working right now. She also did We Need to Talk About Kevin, which was a brilliant fucking film as well. But yeah, I really suggest checking this out.
Yeah, I'm behind on my Jacqueline Phoenix movies. I gotta see her still. I have to see The Master, and now I got this one.
Yeah, hers another one that would be up in Israel too. This would be a 9 for me.
Okay.
I think I rated her at 8, maybe 8.5.
Did the hammer scene remind you of Old Boy? Was there a lot of hammer action?
Nah, he's more of a stealthy type guy.
Oh, I see.
More like 1-2 hits and he's done.
Not like crazy melee whipping it around and.
But he's such a badass, and it's funny because you see he's bulky. He's pretty stocky in this film. There's quite a few shots of him without a shirt.
Oh, all right.
And to think that the next year he went into making a Joker where he looks like he's about to die. Just because when I see him in this, and then I think about the Joker, I'm like, this dude lost like 70 pounds. What the hell happened?
I mean, if I was giving millions of dollars, I think that would be good motivation. But yeah, still, we talked about this before. Christian Bale. Did you ever see that movie, The Machinist?
Machinist, yeah.
Oh my gosh! Like he must have been like barely alive. Like I swear, if you look close enough, you can see his organs like moving and pumping and like, oh, grossly, just zero, it had to be 0 or -% body fat. That guy was just grossly gaunt in that movie.
I don't know if Joaquin is a method actor. I've never heard anybody speak of him in that way, but Christian Bale is, he's an insane method actor.
Hugely, yeah. Hugely huge.
Like people hate him because of it.
I read that reminds me of that article that you put in the group. I actually went through was it 4 pages of the talking. I was like, oh, that was really cool. We should do maybe we'll do an American Psycho segment one of these days.
Oh, that's such a good film.
That was a good one. I hope they never remake that one because that would be quite some shoes to fill. When they were talking about how DiCaprio was supposed to be casted, I was like, oh, gross.
Yeah, that would. And I like DiCaprio, but he just...
I don't know if he would have been ready to play a role like that. And that was immediately coming off of after 1998's Titanic. Yeah. 2 years later, they were talking about that. I was like, yeah, that's so true. They probably would have killed him. Yeah. He was such a teen heartthrob and going straight into this murderous, rape murder kind of movie. It's like, oh, gross for him.
Yeah, I think he played that character. Patrick Bateman, he played that character perfectly. That's one of those roles I can't see anybody else doing it.
That face, that smile, and his canines are just insane. Like they come out every time he talks. It's like he's got vampire teeth, and just he looks like a predator. His face just makes me think of a shark when he talks in that movie, and he's just so elite white, upper class. Oh man. The way he talks, he reminds me of Batman, but he doesn't have when he plays Batman, he's still kind of that elite, upper class, upper echelon of society, but he doesn't come off as an asshole when he's when he plays the Batman role. Like I feel like Bruce Wayne and Patrick Bateman are on the same level, but there's something kinder to Bruce Wayne.
It amazes me too. A lot of people do not know he's British.
Oh yeah, he's Welsh, right? Isn't that what it said? Yeah, I didn't know that until I read that article.
If it's a white guy acting and he's great, 70% chance he's British.
Wait, is Joaquin Phoenix British?
No, he falls in that 30%.
What about who is the guy who played in I Am Sam? I forgot his name already. Sean Penn.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, is he British?
No.
No. Yeah. Hey, Sean Penn, there's another one. Yeah, I haven't seen Sean Penn in anything recently. That was the last movie that really moved me. A Sean Penn movie. I was like, oh shit.
Now there are there are some good Italian American actors too.
They still are American. You can't just say you give them another ethnicity and all of a sudden they're not American.
But something about the British, man, they just pump out great actors.
They need to get out of our country so our American actors can get more jobs. Take my jobs.
Take my jobs.
Oh, South Park.
American Psycho with a British guy. What the fuck?
Yeah. You better get out.
Yeah, if you're an American actor and you went up for that role for American Psycho and a British dude got it, you're like, what the fuck?
That's kind of funny, right? Like, oops. Yeah, that's funny. Like, it's supposed to represent like this American guy.
A British actor played Lincoln.
Who?
Daniel Day-Lewis.
Oh yeah. Oh, I mean, man.
And won the Oscar for it.
I mean, Daniel Day.
He's the greatest ever dude, in my opinion.
We get it. Yeah, man. I got to do a Daniel Day-Lewis thing because I still haven't seen There Will Be Blood, all of it anyway.
Oh, so good.
But I've seen The Crucible so many times. I love The Crucible.
He is so picky about. He just doesn't like to work much. But I mean, God, I think he has maybe 15 films, and he has 3 Oscars.
Oh wow! Yeah,
he's the only person. He's the only person to ever win 3 Best Actor Oscars.
I think I still remember. I'm trying to remember exactly what scene, but I still remember it's one of my favorite scenes when he's just so expressive in The Crucible. In this one scene that little bit of spittle comes out, and you're like, "Oh, Daniel, don't even worry about it. Just keep going with the scene. Spit all over the place. Just God, it's so moving."
In the article you were talking about, there was a reference that Christian Bale was like during the card scene, the iconic card scene in American Psycho. They're like, this guy sweats at the same time.
Yeah,
every
single at the same moment. Each time.
He's so good. He makes himself sweat on command.
But then there was also he was saying that later on he was working with Matt something later on, and he was like, they thought he was just the worst. He was the worst actor casted for that. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yes, right. Yeah, I liked it when they said with the Willem Dafoe scene when they're eating.
Yeah,
how they filmed it. They told Willem to. You're sure in your mind Patrick Bateman's the killer, and then they also told him to do it. You're not sure if he is or not, and they intersplice different reaction shots in.
I want to see that. I want to see the whole movie over again just to compare all the stuff that I just read. But yeah, like I feel like that's something they should do like with every like good detective kind of scene. Like, you know, he's sure of it, and then you're just not sure where are things going in the mind of the detective that's kind of chasing the criminal. Like that. That's really clever if she was the first one to ever do that.
Yeah, I haven't. She's probably not the first, but that's pretty cool. She did it that way.
Okay, well, I'm gonna finish off my films of the week with the movie everyone has been waiting for me to talk about. It would be Robert Downey Jr.'s return to cinema, the 2020 adaptation of an old story, Dolittle. This movie. So
are you sure you want to go on record saying this movie is above average?
I
I'm
didn't
just
say
saying,
that.
just for the betterment. You gave it a 5.8, and if you're on a scale of 10,
I gave it a 0.8 for my kids, really. Because I was like, it would be hard for me to say, because a 5 means like, if you miss it, don't even worry about it. But I was like, my kids liked it. It had the talking animals. Kumail Nanjiani does the ostrich, and he's funny. The ape is all right. Really, there's only a couple really, really funny moments with the animals. But other than that, like, I was so upset with this. First of all, he did not need to do this crazy accent that apparently, I think what I read or Jess told me was that his wife, who produced the movie, wanted him to do some kind of Welsh accent or something, some strange accent that he had difficulty with. Well, in the first 15 or 20 minutes, he has a beard that eventually gets shaved off. And while, it's Robert Downey Jr., he's on scene, you have to look at a character to like understand why was he casted and get the feel of his acting. And I feel they didn't focus on his face. And in the beginning, when he had the beard on, that was easier to understand because at that time when he starts talking and using this accent, you can't really see his lips, so they could have dubbed over. And then he gets it shaved off. And for like a solid, maybe like 5, 6, 7 minutes, it's still his introductory point in the movie. We get to see his face. He's talking to these kids and stuff like that who are coming for his help. And they like avoid him. Every time he looks at the camera and tries to talk, they like cut away to the kid, or we start seeing him from the back or the side. I'm like, this is part of his charm. Like, this is him after Iron Man. Like, we need that reintroduction to see him in a different role, and he needs to look at the audience and show us his interaction with the other kids and other actors. And they took that away from us. And I think it's largely because he must have had to dub these scenes over. Like, he didn't like how they came out, or they didn't like how it came out. And finally, later on in the movie, we finally get some scenes where we get to see him head on and doing this whatever stupid accent that he was having trouble with. And there's other characters in this movie with British accents. And I think his rival, let me get his name, because you've seen this guy before. Maybe you know some of these names better than I do too. Oh, Michael Sheen.
Yeah.
Yeah, Michael Sheen is in this movie. Apparently, his natural accent is the one that Robert Downey was trying to do. And Michael Sheen has a normal British accent in this, at least from what I can tell. I'm just an American. What do I know? But he has a regular British accent. Like, why the hell are you doing this to Downey? Just let him do whatever the fuck he knows how to do. And just let him do it. And Sheen was like the other funny person because he's his rival and he makes fun of his Downey's ability to talk to animals. And every so often, it's funny. It's an okay kind of romp through the movie. But Downey, there's something wrong. There's like this ceiling that Downey just keeps on smacking that they just don't let his energy level go beyond. And it's so strange because, going from Iron Man, this intensity of these action scenes and the tragedy, and I feel there's way more emotional development in the Avengers series than there was in this movie. For a person in the beginning, we find out he lost his wife, and then he's going on this amazing adventure with all these animals and stuff, and he's just like there's this point that he just doesn't break. I'm like, what is going on? Just be excited, yell a little bit, like, I don't know, just be more happy. There's this weirdness to it, and I wasn't happy with that, and it made me sad because I really wanted this to be a bigger hit for him so that we would possibly see him in some more, maybe a sequel or something, but it wasn't. And like I said, the 0.8 was really for some fart jokes and some other fun animal jokes and stuff, but otherwise, yeah, I would not recommend seeing this in theaters. Unless you got kids, it might be a fun watch. Antonio Banderas is in this? No reason, really.
$175 million budget. We could have had 175 really good indie films made.
Yeah.
Or Dolittle.
Yeah. Well, they went with Dolittle.
Yeah. Cats. It actually has a worse Rotten Tomatoes score than Cats.
Then Cats? I thought you were joking when you said that earlier. Oh no.
Cats has a 20. This has a 17.
Oh gosh. Well, the Metascore though, 27, huh? That's a. Oh, I gave it a better rating than IMDb. IMDb gave it a 5.6.
Yeah.
Well.
And half of those are people who were probably drunk when they wrote the review.
Well, Cat's got a 2.8. And got a third. Oh, it did better in Metascore, yeah. I still haven't seen Cats yet.
The critics like Cats more than Dolittle.
Oh, gross. Man, I can't do it. I mean, their budget was more. Oh God, they still haven't grossed enough to break even. I don't know if I'm ever going to do Cats. It may or may not happen.
You might like it. It might be a 5.9.
Gross. I don't want to risk it. Like I said, 5.9 meaning that means I have to have the kids with me. I don't want my kids seeing all these naked man cats and stuff. They look gross in the trailer. I don't want them seeing the stuff.
I don't think. I think we're seeing films differently now than what they used to be. I don't think stars alone can just get people to come to movies anymore.
I think it's wearing our audiences thin. It used to be like, oh, star-studded, and everyone's just like, oh, so-and-so's in it, they're in it.
Yeah.
Like, they're just going to drag fan bases.
Yeah, like Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp can't do it. Robert Downey Jr. can't do it. You know, there's not that actor that alone can just bring people to the movie theaters anymore.
You mean other than The Rock? Because The Rock brings families together. He brings everybody. Because there's nobody that doesn't love The Rock.
No, he needs an ensemble cast. They give him Kevin Hart and Jack Black. He'll make some money.
Or Jason Statham. Did you see that? That wasn't bad. That was kind of funny. Hobbs and Shaw.
No, I won't watch that.
You should try.
I've never seen any of those films. But I think I'm going to try to go see The Gentleman this week.
Oh, yeah. That looked okay. I want to see that one.
That's they're saying Guy Ritchie's getting back to form, which Guy Ritchie did Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels and Snatch. Mm-hmm. Two films I really like, but after that, his career kind of tarnished. Yeah. But
He also did that last Aladdin remake, the live action. Oof, man.
After he married Madonna, it just went downhill.
Don't blame Madonna. She's doing just fine. What is Guy Ritchie? What happened to him?
Colin Farrell movie.
Which one?
The Gentleman.
Oh, Colin Farrell's in it?
Yeah, the cast list on that. God, let me pull that up.
Because I know it's Matthew McConaughey, right? That's Matthew. That's the movie.
Yeah, it's Matthew. They show Colin Farrell.
Hugh Grant.
Yeah, there's a lot of people in it.
Matthew McConaughey, Charlie Hunnam. That was the other one I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
And the more I keep seeing positive reviews about Bombshell, I'm not excited about that. Like, I already saw it, but I'm just like, it was not that good. I don't know. This is weird. They were like, it was some billboard that said, so-and-so is stunning, and they were amazing performance. And I'm trying to see who it's by. Who said that review, and it's really small. It's like says Matt something Sklizzberg or something. I'm like, what? Who the hell is that? Like, why did you put that up on a billboard? Nobody knows who that is.
Has somebody's Twitter handle.
Yeah, exactly. Wow, that's a great review. Let's just throw it up there. Who cares who wrote it? So, yeah.
And I like how they say, "This is the greatest film ever." ...
Yeah.
And after ... it could be like, if you smoke crack.
Yeah. It's the greatest movie ever. If you've never seen another movie ever and you have poor taste in movies.
This is the best film ever if you're sitting on a toilet. You know?
I like the ones that start with the ... It's like ... thrilling and inventive. Because it could be anything before that. This is definitely not thrilling and inventive.
Well, I think I posted it in the group a while back, but one of the worst films I saw last year, The Intruder, on the box it says the reverse Get Out.
Yeah. You said that. Good luck
That
figuring
was
what
the
means.
best. That was the best quote they could get. That's how bad this movie is.
Well, they wanted to put that name. Ooh, Get Out. Like, oh, it's like,
yeah.
what does that even mean? I have to see what's his face. Yeah. See what Dennis Quaid is up to.
Yeah. Don't.
Did you happen to catch the mix-ups I had with our jokes and stuff last week?
No.
Yeah, so for those of you who heard the jokes on last week's show, and you're probably thinking like, what are they even talking about? I apologize. It's my fault. I messed up in the editing. Anyway, the punchlines were all wrong. They were in the wrong order. I understand there was some confusion among the listeners. So to clarify that mess, here's the correct order of all of the punchlines. So the first one, and the man says, "This isn't a pig. That's my wife." The second joke, the doctor says, "Okay, but when you pull that thing out, it better have numbers on it." The third joke, then Susan says, "Sure, that's easy for you to say. He's not your dad." The next joke was, and finally the husband replies, "No way, she's left-handed." And then the other joke was, then the perverted frog said, "Rub it." So, sorry for the inconvenience.
It'll make much more sense now.
Yeah, I hope that clears everything up. So, yeah. For anyone who's looking for a more convenient way to listen to us, if you're not already listening to us through Podbean, thank you, first of all. But I'm also posting these on YouTube on our channel. We're also available on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play Music, Stitcher, TuneIn, iHeartRadio now, Blubrry Podcasting. That's a UK, you know how they say strawberries. I think I said this joke last time too. Blubrry, Radio Public, Pocket Casts, and Listen Notes. We're still waiting on Pandora. I don't know how many more weeks that's going to take, but we'll see.
That's for the older crowd.
Oh, Pandora. Hey, listen, there's still a lot of people out there listening to Pandora, so maybe we'll get some of that Indonesian and Thai crowd. They're going to listen to that one where you shat on Indonesian film industry. What was that episode, like 3 or something? You were like, nobody's listening over there. They listen to 3 and then they're done.
I don't think it was Indonesia. I like those guys.
No, but you were saying... We said something about... Oh, you were like, I don't know where that is or something. I was like, great. I think it was in action movies we were talking about it. Anyway. All right, thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you in the next episode of Coast to Coast Film Reviews. I'm Raj. Have a good night.
And this is David. Have a great time of day.